All right, hello everybody, and welcome back for another sesh. I'm Patrick Vinson, also do Midwest Stage Reviews, and one of the hosts of Couch Locked. Here today, I am going to be talking with our panelists here, discussing some consumer cannabis marketing, so you guys can get some insight on stuff here. Very excited to talk with the panelists that we have with us today here. So we'll go down the line, let everybody introduce them, and we'll dive on into these questions for you. So. Keevin, would you like to start it on off?
Yeah. So I'll start off with my background. So my name's Keevin Cox. I am the general manager of Village Bucktown Dispensary. Just a little bit about myself. I've been in the industry for 8 years. I've been everywhere between a part-time bud tender, assistant manager, operations manager, district manager, buyer, labor relations, throw it all in there. So I've seen everything from seed to sale, from legal to accounting, and marketing, which is the topic at hand. And I think it's a lot of that you can actually put into what trials and tribulations dispensary sees on a daily basis to kind of get over the hurdle of entering the market, becoming successful, and just getting to the point where you can say we now have a growing company. So that's what we'll be speaking on today, but that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome, thanks. And then Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself and give us a little
Hi. I'm Sarah Zelman. I'm the VP of Marketing for Hatch Dispensaries. I've been in the industry for about 4 years. I come from hospitality, and I brought a lot of that over to my job over here. And we're just really customer focused. And it's a really fun job for me, and I'm excited to talk a little bit more.
Awesome. And then Elanta, would you like to give us a little background about yourself?
Yes, thank you. Yes, my name is Elanta. I'm with Blazebox Media. I've been doing marketing media within the cannabis industry for about 4 years now, and that all pretty much originated when I first got started and noticed there wasn't a lot of people that looked like me within the industry at executive positions, managerial positions, and so from being rejected, trying to work for MSOs, a mentor told me to just do it, don't wait for permission. So I just started to post on Instagram, meet people, network, do photography, do my own pop-ups, and do my own thing, which kind of promoted me throughout the cannabis industry from my early advocacy work through managing MSO brands eventually to very strong retail marketing, media, driving traffic, understanding how to develop loyal customers, how to keep people coming back. So I've seen a wide range of what marketing can look like within the cannabis industry.
Very nice. Well, and I think that's a great spot for us to dive on to our first question here, too, to learn about some of you guys' perspective on how to create a successful marketing strategy. Because as we all know, Illinois is a very hard state to get started on if you are a new company, especially here. So what are some things you guys have learned since starting in the industry that you could recommend to some new comers in the industry to help get them started? And then, would we want to start with Keevin? Or?
All right. That's a fun question because it's so many things that you think you need to do. And the real thing about it is you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Guerrilla marketing, hitting the pavement, getting in front of social medias is huge. Being everywhere present physically as well as in your phone and on the websites, on the web pages, and in events like this, to wrap it up in a nutshell for me, I just think you have to not only speak about the things that you need to do that's gonna not only build your footprint, but you actually have to go and do it as well. You can't just direct it. You have to actually walk it. You have to go hand out the cards. You have to speak to your business. You have to show people why you believe in where you're at, not only in cannabis, but why you're out doing what you need to do. And if you can show everybody in a lot of instances how that works out for you, they'll believe enough to now want to shop with you. And you'll gain that customer and you'll gain that loyalty as well. But just don't reinvent the wheel. Go out, print those cards, print those flyers, go to those small businesses, speak to where you're at, speak to why you're doing what you're doing, and everything else pretty much just follows it. But you got to be consistent. You can't just do it one day. You have to keep doing it. Do it Monday through Friday. Do it on Sundays. Do it on Saturdays. Like, it really has to be what you do and who you are.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I mean, I agree with all of that. I would also say having a really good team is super important. You want to make sure that, you can do everything in the world from the marketing perspective, but you can't control what happens when they actually get into the store. So if you have a really good team and you treat them really well and you let them be, have a voice, you're going to get more loyalty. Like, people really enjoy the people who don't pre-order. The ones who want to come in and have a conversation are going to feel more loyal to you if they see a friendly face, if they know your name, if they have a good time, they're going to want to come back. So I would add that. I think your team is super important.
Yes. Additionally, a lot of people wait till they're a few weeks before their grand opening to be like, oh dang, we need to start marketing, we need people to come to the event. How do we've opened our doors, we went through the hard part, we passed inspection, no one knows where we are. So to your point, everyone's point, advertising, marketing early and often before once you have the draw up plans, you're building your brand right away. Right? Not just for social, which is very complicated in cannabis. So what does your strategy look like? What is your influencer strategy? How are you leveraging creators? How are you building your audience base? So your email list is the most important thing, I believe, that a dispensary or a cannabis brand can have, because your socials are not yours. Those can be taken down. You can build your account to 10,000, it's taken down tomorrow. So in addition to the email inbox is the only place where there is no algorithm, so-called, so you know that order is sequential in terms of your content. And so also having a very strong mission and being community-driven, people want to see that hometown hero. They want to know that you're caring about the community. They want to see you at events. You're building your brand recognition, and you should be doing that from the moment you're conspiring to build a cannabis brand, not after the fact.
Great. And some of the things here I think is great to take away. So I'd say consistency is one of the big important takeaways here. Your brand's got to be consistent. Make something that's easy to be recognizable and easy to put on menus anywhere. Then some other things we go for, like continuous branding. It's never too early to start your marketing either. You can't be doing it the week, a month before. You want to start early. I know there's some brands I've seen at events here in Illinois, say like Brunch of Stoners, where there's brands that haven't been operational for 2 years. They've been out putting out non-medicated products to get their brand out, to make sure people know that when it's on the market, it's there. They know that name. So it's never too early. So I think these are some great points they made, on top of making sure you're working with the community and influencers. You can never go wrong with tapping into that community base and working with influencers that people you want to tap in with respect. So great. Love everything that everybody had to say. So we'll start on to the next question. We'll go down from this end and work this way back this time. So how would you guys compare effectiveness for online marketing versus in-person marketing? So pop-ups versus digital marketing. How do you compare the effectiveness of that? The foot traffic, the clicks. How are you guys judging that?
Yeah, in terms of, I could definitely take the online marketing portion. In terms of straight up website, you have how many people are coming to your site, are they converting, are they clicking away, what is attracting them to the site, what is keeping them there, your impressions. When it comes to social media, there's way more than just vanity metrics, how many followers you have, how many likes you have, but ultimately how many shares, sends, how many people are sharing your material to others, and how many people are viewing it, and most importantly for me, for cannabis, is how many non-followers are you reaching, because that's very difficult to do, and making sure you're not just staying within your own closed network. And then for emails, obviously your open rates, your conversion rates, if you have a connection like Alpine IQ, where you can see and embed like what products you have, then you can see who's clicking on what, and then you can really segment. I think segmentation is very important, because ultimately you don't want to price yourself to the bottom. If you're continuously doing blanket deals, that can only last so long. So how can you segment individuals that are, buying dabs within the last 60 days, or a type of flower, or a type of strain, or a type of vape, and just target them with certain discounts instead of having complete blanket deals? So I think there's a lot of metrics that can prove impact beyond just vanity metrics online.
Blanket deals. Let's stop doing it, you guys. Thank you. Yeah, well, I'll speak to a little bit about like what loyalty looks like in store and how we measure that. We do utilize Alpine IQ. I look a lot at like repeat purchase rates. I'm looking at different customer segmentations, who's buying what and when, and then I am making strategic promotions and offers and communications based off of those things, and it really is worth it. I feel like it's easier to just kind of send out one thing to everyone and hope that people kind of catch on, what's going on. But if we're looking at some of our best customers and patients and kind of see what their needs are, what their interests are, what's selling out in those areas, and I take the extra time to kind of speak directly to them, that just helps with loyalty. I mean, literally, I have campaigns where even if it's hitting 50 people, those people are really important to me, and I think that it's important, and people feel good when they feel like they're heard, and I'm not just going, oh, you know what, it's 40% off everything, and I'm not being thoughtful about the brands that we're bringing in. I'm not employing a lot of bud tenders. We make sure that when people come in, they can come in and actually speak to someone if they decide to do that. I just think that all those things are really important, and that's what's going to make you kind of stand out and bring people back. Just give them a good experience and make them feel like you're hearing them.
I actually agree. There is not one that's better than the other in that sense. I think you have to be able to blend it appropriately, and you have to actually make sure we're looking at our customer demographic and we're matching the activity with the product. Let's talk about what people love already, right? People love pets. People love going outside. People love smoking cannabis. We have to know how to blend those things, right? And if we find the best way to blend them, we can promote the activity, and the deals come from that. And I think that's the best way to think that through. Customers are going to follow what they love, once again. So if we promote like a dog activity and say like pot with pets, right? It's just something fun. I think what we're going to get is we're going to get a lot of pet owners that come to a dispensary that now want to smoke pot, right? And I think once we start having fun with that and stop trying to like systematically like approach everything like it's this cookie cutter like project, I think we do a better job with not only promoting our brand, but showing our customers that we are people too, and we're not just selling things. Once we do that, we can appropriately track not only the customers that come to these events, but we can also like segregate our customer base and know exactly who to market to. And then that's where we start to really like see the floodgates open up.
So in terms of that, do you see any issues for street marketing, online marketing, compliance-wise, that makes it harder for you guys to be able to do these things? That some stuff that these newcomers might not know that they're getting their foot onto. Elanta, you might be able to dive in onto this part a little bit there, more on that.
I think, like social media, I love socials and it's so powerful, but you have to really know how to navigate it in terms of cannabis, because you can build and post and do all the work and invest so much, but how do you do it in a way that is valuable enough that you don't get taken down and you accomplish your purpose? So for example, I was a part of a grand opening for a dispensary. We wanted to advertise it via meta ads. And so obviously just plainly saying, hey, this is a cannabis dispensary, let's open it, come on by, was gonna get shut down right away. And so you have to be very creative, and at least my creativity kicked in. And so between all the different missions of this dispensary, one of them was very artsy and is a social equity dispensary. How do we dive into the community? So we did a community t-shirt design contest, and we advertised the contest and the reveal of the design on the grand opening day. And that was allowed to be advertised on Meta. We got over 100,000 website impressions from that. We embedded the form on our website. And so those are the kind of strategic tactics that you have to use to kind of circumvent the different regulations, for example.
And again, social media, you can't rely on those social media platforms. She mentioned earlier about the newsletters. This is very important. If you guys don't have a newsletter, today, make a newsletter. Go get a MailChimp, start some form of newsletter, because I'm guaranteed most of you guys have had an Instagram account taken away in some form. If it hasn't, it's not an if, it's a when. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. So create that newsletter and make sure you create another outlet so you guys have that. So in case something gets pulled out from under you, you still have that base and those people to reach out to. And again, don't worry about, like she said, if you guys are looking at who's seen your posts, you don't want to worry about people who only follow you seeing those posts. That's not important. Of course, people following you are going to see your posts. Shadow banning, people who don't follow you will never see your posts. So you want to see what those numbers look like. So
I would just add another underutilized tactic is influencers and content creators. Yep. Since your reach is very limited within restricted content, especially on socials, how are you utilizing individuals in and not in necessarily the cannabis space, for example, like you said, dog lovers, or other people that fit your target demographic? How are you branching out of just pot smokers and looking at other similarities of your segments to also find creators within those segments to kind of expeditiously, or at least faster than you would just traditionally posting, also collaborate as a very powerful tool on Instagram to continuously hit new audiences?
Yeah, for collaboration, another thing I want to add that I think also goes along with like community engagement and involvement is it's really great for us to speak within the cannabis community, but it's also really great to speak outside of it, whether that's with like local businesses or charities or fundraisers or whatever. And what I recommend doing is if you're going to do something like that, like if you're going to do a food drive or a pet drive or an adoption day, connect with them first so you can establish a relationship so that they do reciprocal sharing, right? So you're accessing an entirely new audience and it's compliant, right? Because if your local food bank, if they have an Instagram and they're sharing something about you, that's a whole new audience of people. And as long as you give them compliant materials to share, it's just not going to run into a problem. So I think that that's a really good way to kind of get involved, make sure that things are happening on social, and make sure that your account isn't shut down. And I also always recommend doing a backup account. That's just good practice. Just do it. If you don't have one yet, just make one now. Everybody's getting shut down. It's crazy. You know, when I started and I was first doing our Instagram, I was like posting nugs all the time, like products, like, I don't know. It was just a lot looser. And I have noticed that it's way tighter now. So a lot of our social is like people focused and, you know, like things in store with our bud tenders, and people actually respond even better to that anyways. So at the end of the day, it worked out.
Now I'll just lastly add, like, let's use the customer base that we already have, right? Like, we already have customers that shop with us, whether it's 10, 20, 100, 200. Send out those emails. Let those customers know what we're doing as a company, what we're doing as a brand and as a store, and use your customers to market for you, right? Like, what happened to referral codes? Like, I think we can go back to that. I think we can say, bring a friend and you'll get this. Like, those are things that people forget because they sound too easy. Like, we have to go back to the basics and then build off of that foundation. And that's how we get success out of not only an Instagram post, but through the mailers, through the newsletters, through posting. And then we build a community within ourselves. And our customers start that off.
Use what you have. Yeah, use the people who are already listening to you. That's the thing for me is like, we're all trying to crack the code of how to get in the ear of new people who have never heard of us before. And it is extremely hard because nothing is compliant. So for me, when I get frustrated and I'm banging my head against a wall and trying to figure out how to do Google Ads, I take a step back and I'm like, you know what? Let me think about who I'm already talking to, who is already listening to me and who already likes us, and how can I work with them to grow this?
Although I haven't cracked the code, the closest I have gotten for compliance is decentering the plant. That's really what it is decentering the plant and understanding who is behind it. And once you remove that aspect, similar to alcohol or tobacco ads, and that cold sell aspect, I think that is what's going to get closer. Because we do have examples, maybe not in cannabis totally because it's a new industry, but we have tobacco, we have alcohol, we have cigarettes. They all still advertise. What are some nuggets that we can use from their success?
So let's talk about some brand loyalty since we're talking about how to keep people coming back and stuff. How do we keep people to come back to you guys? We have all these, a lot of us came from the medical days and stuff. Medical patients are some of the most loyal customers you have out there. They're consistent at staying at these dispensaries. How do we convert that over to the recreational side with all these new dispensaries opening up and all the new products coming online? How do you convert them to stay loyal to you guys? Whether it be sales, whether, like you're saying, some bring in a friend and stuff. What have you guys seen that is something that actually works and you could recommend trying out?
So I think if we think about the medical days when it was medical only, everybody just flocked to the product that they needed. It is now built up to the point where you don't need to go to a store specifically to get something you need because everybody most likely will have it. So it has to come down to the experience that you build inside your store. Like that comes down to the management, that comes down to the bud tenders, it comes down to the brand loyalists that, you pay and you go and have events for and make things like sound like fun. But the customer experience is the biggest thing. You're gonna go not only to a place that you like because it's nice looking or it's nice or they have the product, but you're gonna go and shop with people you like. Right? And I think that we have to start that off first. Once you build that up, you then have to build the menu. Because if you don't have anything in the store, like they're going to come say hi, but nobody's going to be able to purchase anything. So it starts with that. I think the customer experience is like the biggest thing. And it's one of those other things that's like, it's so easy. It sounds like something that you don't have to do. But it's always something that you have to continuously train and speak about and, talk to the customer about how it is working in a dispensary. Like, show them that you're not fake, and they'll show you why they keep coming back.
Yeah, I totally agree with all that, and I would also back up your menu. Like, we're finally to the point where our menus are important and our relationships with the cultivators are important, right? So we can bring in coveted products because we're finally there. We're finally not only all selling the exact same things. Sure, there's like exceptions. We all have, good news. Like it is what it is. But, especially with all the craft grows, shout out to the craft grows, our relationships are super important today because the right customers, I'm assuming for all of us, are looking for important products. So the second thing that I wanted to say about especially cultivating loyalty with non-medical customers is being consistent and not just chasing having only the best deals, because the best customers aren't the ones that are only looking for the best deals. They're looking for those other value adds, like the best experience, the best menu, the best customer follow-up, right? Are they happy with your return policy, all that kind of stuff. I think that those pieces are really important too.
I think you guys covered a lot of it. I would just add definitely the customer service, the customer experience, the menu beyond just this is the highest, lowest THC, but really exploring what the effects of the cannabinoids are. People are coming in, I need something to sleep. I need something to clean my house by tomorrow. People have different reasons, and exploring and having well-trained bud tenders to be able to identify that and really build that basket definitely matters, as well as the personalization beyond, of course, in person, but is there a way to extend that online? There's a lot of AI chat bots that connect with your menu and your user profiles that can kind of identify and guide the customer from just even that touch point as well. And it also takes several touch points for a customer to even A, put you in the top of mind, but B, continuously come back.
And talking about bud tenders, very important. These guys are often the forefront for your sales and stuff, for marketing. So how important are, from either bud tender educational pop-ups to just pop-ups in the store to interact with consumers? What have you guys seen work best for you? What are some new ways that you have seen people do this and just stuff like that? Start, Kevin?
Sure, I'll start it off. So it's so many platforms out here now that you can go to get bud tender training, and truthfully, it's like a menu at a restaurant. If it's so big that you don't know where to pinpoint what you want to eat, it's going to be very hard to know what you want. So I think it starts with knowing what you need to know, kind of speaking to the bud tenders, kind of asking the questions about, like, hey, what's the biggest pain point that we have in front of us? Is it cannabinoids? Is it terpenes? Is it the endocannabinoid system? Is it the whole science? Is it just strains and what they do? Like, I think we need to pinpoint where and target where the training should happen first. So then when we are like setting up these educational pop-ups, they mean something, right? And I think like a lot of people have gotten away from that because they say, oh, if we host a pop-up, like people can go and learn about the product. Truthfully, I feel like there's not a lot of bud tenders that are going to sit in front of those pop-ups to learn. It's just they're there because we're having it versus I learned something from it. And because of that, you're not really seeing the incentive to build a basket. You're not really seeing the incentive, like, truly hear about what the product is. And because of that, you also have a lot of bud tenders that just know strains and don't really know the reason why.
Yeah, do bud tender trainings. Bud tender trainings are more important than pop-ups. Come on in, like, do what it takes, stick around all day, like, get to know them. That is super, super important because they're your stand-ins, they are your sales reps. Yeah, I think coming and actually doing an in-person bud tender is super important because, look, you guys are sales reps. If they like you, you're going to be on their good side and they're going to sell more of your stuff, and that especially, look, flower is one thing. You get those samples out and the flower is fire, you're probably fine. You don't need to work as hard. But if you are an edible, if you are a vape, you need to be hooking these people up. And I also, with samples, make sure your samples are getting to the bud tenders.
Yes.
I won't say too much there, but make sure they are going all the way to the people that you are sending them to, okay? It's a waste if you're sending an exact count of samples that are supposed to go to your bud tenders and they are not getting them.
And label them.
Yeah.
That part. Yeah. So outside of that, so we are learning, you guys want to see more educational pop-ups for bud tenders. I mean, back in 2020 to 2022, I'd say that's when I saw a lot more pre-hour educational sessions. You'd come in, you'd have your sales reps come in, they'd talk to your workers before hours and stuff, so you didn't have to worry about getting the store open. I definitely would love to see more of that happening again as you guys are here, and I think that's very important too for the new dispensaries, as we're seeing a lot of people that don't have cannabis industry experience getting in, so they don't know a lot about these products, and it's an easy way to get them to learn right from the source. So outside of seed talent and other ways that you guys can train your bud tenders, definitely I think bud tender training's the best way, hands-on. And Elanta?
Yeah, I would say in addition to that bud tender training, it's also those kind of after-hour bud tender events where a brand, especially when it comes back to the sample portion, as you just mentioned, I've seen a lot of success when brands will throw their own bud tender events and have the full sampling, full experience, full education, all under one roof, all under one night, as the industry gets together. I found that to be very successful as well.
I definitely agree with her. I think doing that, a standalone pop-up for your guys, like for your own party and stuff, definitely the route to go instead of some big old, just at a single dispensary. Rent a space that you can consume at and actually have people try your products at. That's what they want to do. You can't give people a gummy that's non-medicated and be like, oh, how do you think the effects are? I don't know, I had a piece of candy. So these are the things that we need to do more of. Bud tender education, extremely important for the new companies coming up. If you guys are opening up a dispensary, if you're starting a new brand, if you're not marketing already, another takeaway, start marketing already. Never too early. Start a newsletter today, too, if you guys don't have a newsletter. And I think Sarah also mentioned a backup page. If you don't have an Instagram backup page for your social media, start one today because it's bound to happen, sadly, just with how the rules are. But does anybody else have any final things they'd like to say across here?
One thing that I would really like to see from in-store pop-ups is, like, yes, handing out an uninfused sample is kind of neither here nor there. If you think about where pop-ups really work, it's like Costco, right, where you can actually try the product. So, guys, ahead of time, talk with the buyers and get some penny samples in, so when you talk with someone, you can give them a little coupon, so when they check out, whether they buy your products or not, they can take a sample home. Like, that's literally all you have to do. Just do it. It'll make a difference. I feel like a lot of cultivators are trying to figure out the effectiveness of doing pop-ups because, it's manpower, you have to bring a bunch of stuff, you have to stay there for a while. But really, I really think that the most effective thing that you can do with that time and opportunity is to get your product into someone's hands. And you have the capability to do that. It just takes a little bit of coordination with your sales rep and making sure that the inventory is there, and then you can actually do it. So I would love to see more of that. I hardly ever see that. Do you?
No.
Sometimes it's a coupon, but no. If you're trying to get
sometimes.
someone to spend money on a new product, give it to them. Sorry.
Yeah, sometimes I'll see that as a strategy. Like, there'll be like a secret doorbuster menu that only, that brand advertising, so you'll go into a store and get that. So I've seen that as a strategy, but not utilized as strongly. And of course, things will only work if you work them.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, seriously, just to top it all off, we just have to finish the activity, right? Be present with the education, have the product for them to try, and have them try it, right? It's a three-step process. Once we can complete that, we're fine. And I think the communication level from the buying aspect to the in-store to the sales rep, all of that has to be working perfectly too. And it's really easy to do because we're all here to do the same thing. At the end of the day, everybody has the same goal. So we need to stop segregating ourselves from ourselves and putting ourselves together to now grow the brands. And that's what we used to do. That's how this got here. And I don't think that we need to get away from that to become successful. I think we need to remember that to become more successful.
Absolutely agree with that. And also to throw on to the events here, like we were saying, QR codes to a Google Sheets. Would you guys recommend something like that so people could give you guys direct feedback from that product, from that event, so you guys could hear back and stuff? Is that something you guys would see as resourceful?
Yeah, get feedback, utilize it. Once again, to sales reps, if you're there on the floor, take notes, really ask people questions. That is when you're going to get the best information from people. I'll sometimes just spend time in the stores, asking people questions. What are you looking for? What products could we carry? What kind of deals do you want to see? And yeah, talk directly to the people that you want to sell weed to.
Awesome. Well, I think that's all we have for this sesh, right? Instagrams, yes. You know what? Let's go down the line so everybody can shout out their Instagram handle so you can find them all there. So we'll start on down from Elanta on down.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram, Blazebox Media or blazebox.e. I also have LinkedIn, my full name, Elanta Slowek, or elantaslowek.com.
Awesome.
Our Instagrams are #Dispensary, and then our backup is go.hatch.
Our Instagrams are Village Bucktown, and my personal Instagram is Call Me Keev.
Awesome. And then I'm Patrick Vinson on LinkedIn. You can find us at Couch Locked on Instagram for all Illinois cannabis events and reviews. Thanks so much for joining us at this flower sesh, and excited for the rest of the day.
Thanks,
Let's get it.
Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick.